All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
She left the port of Superior Town, her hold weighed down with steel. A proud old ship on the inland sea, with a heart of iron and keel. The winds, they whispered through November's chill as the skies began to moan, and the crew looked north through the gathering storm, far from their hearth and home. Oh, the lake was cold and the night was black, and the wind tore through her sails. She fought the waves till her spine was cracked by the fury of Superior's gales. Now the bell still tolls where the waters swell and the ghostly breakers wail for the 29 men who never came back from the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
And welcome back, everyone. Wow, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Still gives me shivers when I hear that song. Not only the song that we did, but also the one by the late, great Gordon Lightfoot. X-Zone Nation, this hour on the X-Zone, we step into one of the darkest and most misunderstood corners of the paranormal world. And that's the realm of demonic oppression, spiritual warfare, and the battle between good and evil. My guest this hour is Father SHAWN Whittington, a highly respected exorcist, deliverance minister, paranormal investigator, and founder of Ghost Be Gone, one of the most trusted ministries dedicated to helping individuals and families who believe they are facing malevolent forces. With years of experience confronting hauntings, attachment, and full-blown possession cases, Father SHAWN brings a rare combination of spiritual authority, deep compassion, disciplined training, and first-hand knowledge of the dangers of that are lurking in the shadows. Tonight, he joins us to discuss his work, his faith, his most challenging cases, and what really happens when an exorcist steps onto the battlefield. This is one conversation you will not want to miss, so please welcome with me Father SHAWN Whittington to the X-Zone. And Father SHAWN, always great having you with us, my friend. How are you?
God bless you, brother. It's my pleasure. God bless you for asking me back. I always have a great time here. And I know I tell you this every time, but I just have to do it. You play, and you're probably going to play more in the next hour, but you play such wonderful music on this show, on your show. And I have to ask you, I know you're a lifelong paranormal experiencer and enthusiast in your own right. You are where you're at in Canada. Are you near any of the Great Lakes?
Oh, we're right on the shores of Lake Ontario here.
There you go. I should know this. Do you have any legends of like ghost ships?
Oh my goodness, we're right smack dab in the middle of what's known as the Great Lakes Triangle.
Really?
Yes, there's ghost ships. Planes have vanished over the Great Lakes, and filled with Indian myth legends. Mrs. John Graves Simcoe, the wife of the first governor of this province, saw great balls of fire in the sky flying in formation years ago. There's stories. Well, one of the stories that we actually covered was the night the Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior under suspicious conditions. Strange occurrences happened all the way down the Niagara River. The animals at Marineland, which is in Niagara Falls, it's a major attraction, they all got spooked by some invisible force, and they bolted out of their enclosures, and they were found on the Queen Elizabeth Highway, which is the main highway from Toronto into the U.S. And it's just filled. We have the Screaming Tunnel, where I used to do my show at 610 CKTB, the most haunted radio station in Canada. We have stories of specters, just going down the streets. In Niagara Falls, we have stories of phantom horse carriages being driven by phantom drivers, filled with legends. And one day I'd love for you to come on up here and let me take you around.
I have to, and you mentioned Niagara Falls. So much energy.
Oh yeah.
Produced there.
Mm-hmm.
Just highly charged paranormal activity throughout that whole neck of the regions. But I had never really heard of anybody talk about seeing ghost ships. And I just had somebody call me the other day, and they saw one off the coast of either North Carolina or South Carolina. But I've always been being a Navy man myself, I've always been intrigued by that. And I remember when the ship that I was on, we would be out at sea sometimes 3 or 4 months in a row, just doing whatever they do out there. And I would get off watch, and they always thought I was weird that I would go up to like the crow's nest, because I had an in with the Radio Shack. I was a radio man, and I had an in with the signalmen. They let me go up to the crow's nest, and I'd sit up there all night long with the infrared, night vision goggles on, looking for stuff, and never saw a ghost ship. But I always wondered what type of reaction that would get out of me to see that.
Well, I did not know you were a member of the military, and you were in the Navy.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Well,
another lifetime, brother.
Well, I want to thank you for your service, my friend.
Thank you. God bless you.
It's well appreciated. Father Shawn, for those meeting you for the first time here in the X Zone, what led you into the work of deliverance, spiritual warfare, and exorcism?
Well, that's I'm going to give you the same answer I give everybody, because it's the truth. I got actually drug into this line of work. Kicking and screaming, literally. I was seeing spirit when I was a young boy, and so I was an amateur ghost buster at a very early age, probably around 10. And I'm that weird kid riding around on the bicycle with the Schwinn with the basket on the handlebars, and I had a little Polaroid in there, and back then you didn't have the little voiceover recorder, so I had this big clunky tape recorder, and I'm riding around looking for every, abandoned looking location I can to go in and just, urbexing. I guess that would be, back then you would be called urbexing. I really didn't know what I was doing. Had some scares, but as time went on, I got more and more passionate about investigating paranormal occurrences and ghost hunting and ghost busting, if you will. I wish, looking back, I wish I had been more open about that passion, because when I was young, that was a weird thing. Your friends all thought you were a kook if you were into that sort of stuff. And, you want to have friends when you're young.
Yeah.
So I kind of kept that a secret. That was a secret passion of mine. I regret doing that. But many, many years later, I met my wife. We were set up on a blind date. We didn't know it. And we hit it off. She was a Stephen minister in the Lutheran Church and a psychic medium. She doesn't like to call herself that, so she will tell you no. But trust me, she's a several times over near-death experience survivor and has come back from those experiences with, for lack of a better term, a gift, if you will. And so we hit it off right away, and right away we were honest with each other about our passion for the paranormal field. So we started Ghost Be Gone, and that's over 20 years ago. And we were just your average, going on ghost tours, attending paracons and paranormal conferences, and helping people with their paranormal issues if someone reached out to us for help, residential and commercial. And we worked a very ugly case together. It was a coworker of mine who said, just recently married, so she was a newlywed, and I worked at the time. I spent the last 20 years before becoming an ordained priest, a veterinary technician. So she was a coworker at this hospital that I worked at, and she said, "You need to come over to my house. I don't want to discuss it here at work, but you won't regret it. Please come, and I need your help." So my wife and I went over there, and she was actually being raped, literally,
Oh.
by something she couldn't see. Uh, at night, it started just at night, but then it progressed to daytime, when she'd be in the
Mm-hmm.
shower, when she'd be on the couch, outside on her porch having a cigarette. And then it started to attack and rape her husband, because he would try to intervene in the attacks and
Of
stop
course,
it,
yeah.
and he would come under attack. They both went to the doctor for exams. He was suffering. I hope I'm not going to get too graphic here, but he was suffering like rectal fissures from these attacks. She was also suffering the same type of physical ailments that a woman gets from being sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty bad. And long story short, my wife and I, we went there one time, and we experienced so much stuff. We were way in over our heads. I probably said and did some things I shouldn't have done. We did some provoking, and we shouldn't have done that. We used a Ouija board, and I believe that opened up an additional portal and allowed whatever was there to attach to us. We came home from that experience, and whatever was there took up residence in our home here, the home I'm living in now and coming to you live from. And this thing was in our home for probably 2 months. I reached out to the paranormal community for help, and God bless them if for once they came through for me, introduced me to my then mentor, who's retired now. She was an ordained Catholic exorcist. She took me under her wing, taught me how to fight this thing and get it out of our house. And she said after we were done, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. She said, "I think you're being called to the ministry of exorcism and deliverance. And if you're interested, I can put you through my school and get you to become an ordained deliverance minister." I didn't want to say yes. I was scared, but I said yes, and I'll tell you why. Because I never wanted to be at such a loss at what to do again. If that ever happened to me again, what happened to my wife and I for that 2 months in this home, I didn't want, I wanted to know what to do the next time that happened. And if people came to me for help again, I wanted to be able to help them. So that's why I stayed with her and finished my training, went on to become an ordained deliverance minister, and then but that came at great cost.
All right, Sean, we have to do a bit of a cliffhanger here. I've got to take my first break. Exonation. Father Sean Whittington is my very special guest this hour. His website is ghost, and there's a dash, b-gone.biz. And Father Whittington and I will be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, up here in Canada on Shaw Media, Rogers International, and on Videotron in Quebec. I'm Rob McConnell, and you're also listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM in St. Catharines, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
On the X Zone we gather, come what may, with Rob McConnell guiding us through the dark, searching for truth hidden, igniting the spark. Whispers of spirits, both gentle and bold, tales of the ancients in the stories retold. From haunted old houses to the echoing halls, we seek the unknown where mystery calls. On the X Zone Radio, where the truth
And welcome back, everyone. Father Shawn Whittington is our very special guest. His website is ghost-b-gone.biz. Shawn, how did your family and friends take your change of venue and when you decided to become an ordained deliverance minister?
It's funny that you should ask that question. It's kind of like people were a little people that have known me all my life, that love me and respect me and still occasionally reach out to me. How you doing? Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you ever need me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The people kind of faded away.
No.
Because and I don't blame them. People are scared about what it is I do.
I would be proud because here you are stepping up, facing an enemy that we all fear.
Well, yeah, I've had some close friends that have hung out with me since, because I've gone on from being a deliverance minister to entering the seminary, graduating, and then becoming an ordained Catholic priest, exorcist. And I've had friends that have hung out with me since then who've reported having some issues afterwards. And so it's the reason why, my wife is a survivor of an extreme demonic attack, so she'll fight me on it, but I take her on very few cases anymore because that was a scary time. But people tend to, I know they pray for me, I know they love me, they're around if I need them, but people tend to kind of keep their distance a little bit, and I get it and I understand. It is what it is. So that's what it's been like, and that's what it was like even when I was young. If I was honest, with the few, I can count them on one hand, the few friends that I did say, listen, I like to go out to places and look for ghosts. That usually led to them not really wanting to hang out with me anymore. So I've got many, many years behind me of experiencing that kind of thing, and I get it and I understand, and I don't have a problem with it. My family, very supportive. My immediate family. My mom, I used to talk to my mom and tell her I saw spirits when I was young, and she just so matter-of-factly said, how she knew this, I don't know. She was very gifted too, but she would say, you're going to see a lot of ghosts in your life, and they're nothing to be afraid of. They're just people without a body anymore. And so if you see one, if you're not, so freaked out that you can't do this, you should try and compose yourself and ask them, why are they appearing to you? If they have a message for you, if they, need some help with something. But if you can't help them, then you should at the very least tell them that you see them, but that you're freaked out and you'd really wish that they didn't appear to you any longer. Do one of the two. But she says, you're going to see a lot of spirits in your life. Then I started seeing things that I knew were different than just your regular disembodied human spirit, and they were much more frightening. And when I asked her about that stuff, she would sort of kind of change the subject, and just said, those are the ones you want to be careful about that, and watch what you do in life, and don't invite those types of things into your life, because we're all targets. And if you say and do the wrong thing, I mean, they're everywhere, and they're always watching, and they're waiting for just that little invitation. And so many people I help today, they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't think they did anything wrong, but they might have. It can be as simple as joking with someone and saying, I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. You got to be careful the things you say, because if they feel they've been given permission to attach, they're going to attach, and then it's you're in trouble.
The world today is in a total upheaval. Many people, young and old, have never experienced such geopolitical, what's going on in one country, the number of people that are hungry, the number of people that are homeless, the number of people who lose their jobs, the number of divorce rates that are skyrocketing, and so on. Is this all part of Satan's master plan to destroy humans?
Well, that's been his master plan from the very beginning, since they were all kicked out of heaven and sent to hell. So it's just a really ugly time. I can't remember in my lifetime seeing the world as ugly as it is right now, and the horrors that you see human beings committing towards one another and towards religious of all
I
kinds,
know.
not just Catholic,
I know.
Judaism, Muslim,
Yeah.
whatever, uh, whatever path you're walking on. If you do have a religious belief system, uh, you know, in your household, everybody's a target now.
Yeah.
And I do believe Satan's already lost the battle. We know that, but there's many the war, I should say, but there's many battles along the way that he continues to wage on mankind, and so it is a never-ending battle until the very final one, where we know he's defeated. But there's going to be a lot of collateral damage along the way.
My gosh,
And
look what's happening in Ukraine. Look what happened today in Washington, right smack dab, a block and a half away from the White House. 2 National Guardsmen got shot. They were in critical condition. To see this happen, and then with what is happening with ICE and the immigration crisis, it seems that the entire world is going crazy, Sean. And why isn't there some heavenly intervention? I understand we've got free will, but you're a dad, I'm a dad. To see my children suffer, I would certainly intervene. And yet, all this is going on, and no one from above, to my knowledge, is intervening, unless they're doing it in such a way that it's being done but not noticed, if you can understand what I'm trying to get at.
absolutely, I I am a dad of a lot of fur babies. I've never had any children of my own that I know of.
Now, hold on. I can send you some. I'll do that just because you're a friend. I tried to pawn 15 grandchildren off to the last guest,
Oh gosh.
and they said no. So here I am. I've got a special offer for you.
Okay. I tell you, I believe me when I tell you, I've witnessed enough divine intervention.
Yeah.
You got to have an eye and look for it. And it could be something very little. It could be something big. People want to see these big miracles. They're around us every single day, but sometimes they're very small and they go unnoticed. But there's a lot of divine intervention going on all the time.
Really?
Or trust me, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. People want to focus on the bad, and that's something that Satan wants, is for us to focus on that bad.
You know, when I look back in history, for example, the Lady of Fatima in Portugal, she was there. She gave the message. Why couldn't that same type of miracle happen today? Is it because those in power today think that they don't even have to acknowledge God? Or is it because the devil and evil have more control over them than they themselves know?
I think you're right on everything you've said, and I believe that we've gotten away as society.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten away from God, and that's brutally apparent too. If you just look at the statistics and watch shows about that topic, we've gotten away from God and gotten away from faith. My advice is, if you don't have, if you're an atheist or a non-believer, or you don't buy into any of that stuff, that's okay. But it doesn't give you an excuse to not wake up every day, look in the mirror, and say to yourself, "I'm going to be the best version of myself today that I can be.
Yeah.
I'm going to treat people the way I want to be treated. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
No.
I'm not going to be a pervert, and I'm going to just try and do unto others as I would have them do unto me, and help my fellow man."
And by them doing that, what they're doing is acknowledging the fact that these are the words from the great book.
And if you do have a religious belief system in place,
Mm-hmm.
don't pervert it.
Yeah.
Stay strong in your faith. There is great power to prayer, And all of the things I just said, you want to practice that, uh, and then include a lot of prayer. I always, harp on people to, especially Catholics. Christians can do this too, but Catholics, they should just, try to go to confession once every couple of weeks or once a month. Try your best to go to Mass. I say Mass here in my home every day, being a priest, but people should try and go to confession once, twice a month, go to church every Sunday, receive communion, pray a lot. That stuff is very important because it's very easy for the demons to just say, I'll move on to the next easy target. They want the easy target.
Well, let
If
me
we,
let me let me ask you this, Sean. There are a lot of evangelists on television and on radio and on the internet participating in an online church sermon. Does that give you the same protection as going into a church or into a synagogue or wherever, or a temple, and and participating in the service?
I believe that if you have a church that you can physically go to, a brick
Mm-hmm.
and mortar location
Right.
that you're comfortable at, that's really good for the soul. Being around other
Yeah.
worshipers, talking to people, interacting with people, seeing the priest, going up, receiving communion, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do, and I am one of those online guys. I get a lot of my preach on online. What that Why I do that is because I don't have a brick and mortar location, and I can reach a lot more people than if I wasn't online getting my preach on, if you will. So that's important too. But many of these people, you'll find out they just don't have a place to go to,
Yeah.
so they enjoy having someone that they can see online.
Stand by, my good friend. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, our guest is Father Sean Whittington. His website is ghost-b-gone.biz. And you're listening to us on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Exxon Broadcast Network, on Tuber, and of course on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us on classic1220.ca.
Houses to the echoing halls, we seek the unknown where mystery calls. On the Exxon Radio, where the truth finds a way through the stories of ghosts that wander and sway, inviting the seekers. From the mountains out in BC to the shores of Newfoundland, lights are glowing through the snow, hearts are open hand in hand. From the prairie's silent winter fields to the streets of Montreal, the spirit of the season brings its magic to us all. It's that special time of year across Canada when the world feels warm and near. Families gather, voices sing of love and hope and cheer. From the northern lights to city streets, the message rings so clear. It's Christmas across Canada, that special time of year.
And welcome back, everyone. Father Sean Whittington is our special guest of this hour. Website is ghost-b-gone.biz. How different is being an exorcist compared to the exorcists that we see on TV?
Well, it's I get a kick out of it, to be honest with you, when I watch a show and then a priest comes in, and me, I'm just
You're just
I lock
you.
onto
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I lock onto that person and try to see, what is he doing right? What is he doing wrong? How's he behaving on screen? The kinds of, you know, to see if there's somebody out there that's training these actors. And I have to say, I haven't really seen anybody embarrass the church in their behavior. But then you get some of these really low budget campy horror films
Hmm.
where some of them are a little a little bit much, but it's all part of entertainment. I don't judge, and I still get a kick out of it. Even when I see that, I get a kick out of it. But it's very different, very different. It's like I said, I got drug into it, kicking and screaming, but it was meant to be. I realize now that it was a calling, and I've answered the call as best I can, and but you got to be careful.
Can you take us through how you perform an exorcism?
Well, basically, a lot of people don't know this. It's just a large prayer, but it has to be also scripted because you also need my idea. Now, this sometimes it doesn't work out this way,
Okay.
but my ideal situation, if I can set it up and all the dominoes fall the way they should fall for me, getting ready for this, I want to have at least one or two prayer warriors in the room to sit at a couple of opposite sides of the room, and their job is no matter what you if, hear,
Hmm.
see, smell, feel, just to keep the Bible open and continue to pray. Pray, pray, don't stop praying. Then you have to have men with you if it's a man who's under demonic possession, because if they vomit or defecate all over themselves during the ritual, you have to have men take them to the restroom. You don't want women taking a man into the restroom to clean him up. And the same flip side of that coin, if it's a woman who is under demonic possession, you don't want men taking her to the restroom if she vomits and defecates all over herself. You want women with you. So sometimes it's hard to find people that will assist you, but you got to try and get people that will come in there and assist you. And they can't be uh, of poor character. They have to be devoutly religious people under a state of grace that are in this room with you, helping restrain. I hate to, I mean, I've been in exorcisms where it would have been nice to have some of them, you know, cargo straps
Right.
to strap some of these people down to whatever they're sitting in. But
Hmm.
you need help. You also need assistants that are going to be there. Not only if I get ill and get hurt and I get taken out, someone has to step in, especially if you're right in the middle of the right. Someone has to step in and take over for you. So you need at least another priest. My ideal situation is if there's an archbishop that has taken authority over the exorcism and I'm there to assist him. But I am totally ready and willing and prepared to take authority over an exorcism. But I would like to have at least a priest who knows how to perform the rite with me in case something happens to me. And it's just a large prayer, but there's a lot of responses, and then you have to kind of know the ebb and flow of how things go. When you don't want to get into too much dialogue with the if the once the entity, the unclean spirit, manifests, you don't want to have any real eye to eye contact or conversation with the demon. But there are times when as the thing does its ebb and flow, ups and downs as you progress through the ritual and this long prayer and this script, there's times where you need to ask um, what your mission is, who sent you, um, when do you plan to leave, um, who are you. If you can get a demon name, that's very powerful, but it's not absolutely necessary. But the thing is you have to be prepared to be there for hours and sometimes take a break and come back another day. I've assisted in exorcisms that have lasted months.
Oh gosh.
So it's not a wham bam thank you man. I have no magic powers. I can't walk into a home and wave a magic wand and make everything go away. Um, and the big secret here that a lot of people don't know, everybody is in such a weakened state whether it's the person that's under oppression or, God forbid, possessed, to everybody around that's close to that person, family members. Everybody is their life has been turned upside down. And they know that their lives are at stake, and they know that their souls are at
Hmm.
stake. So everybody is just a fragment of themselves at this point. So it's hard to get them to realize that they are truly the ones that have the power to draw their line in the sand, make a stand, put up a good fight, God forbid the fight of their life, if true evil comes calling. They're the ones that truly have the power. And once I can get everybody to really truly believe that, and usually there's a good outcome.
You were saying a little while ago that you like to have people, men and women there, depending on the sex of the person who is being possessed, to, if they vomit or defecate, to take them to the washroom. Now, while these other people are taking them to the washroom, what would stop the demon from continuing to to have the person possessed enact in physical manners, or defecate again, or to do whatever they can to scare these people who are there to help you out? Do you continue your prayers while this person is taken and everything? And does the suppression of the spirit or the demon, once you know their identity, what extra power does that give you?
Well, I go into these. I show up at a location. We all have everything worked out and we're all ready to go. But when I show up at a location, I enter across the threshold on my hands and knees, and I crawl in there and I rebaptize everybody. Not rebaptize, that's a poor phrase, because everybody there is usually Catholic and already baptized. But I will do a renewal of have everybody go through a renewal of baptismal promises,
Mm-hmm.
and like Jesus did with the apostles, I'll get on my hands and knees and wash everybody's feet in holy water, and everybody is hopefully in a state of grace. We've all gone to Mass, we've all gone to confession and Mass and received communion prior to the exorcism. And you know when the time is right. You can't allow a person to sit who's urinated and defecated and vomited all over themselves. And that doesn't happen in every exorcism, but you can't have them sit like that too long. But you can't release them
Yeah.
if it's at the height of a manifestation and there's a lot of violence going on. You can't just release them at that point. You know when there's a time, there's usually breaks. That's also another weird word to say, a break. But there's, like I said, there's an ebb and flow of an exorcism, and you can tell when there's a time when it's safe for the person to be, the inflicted person to be taken in and be cleaned up. But you got to be very careful, and you never stop praying. That's why I have the prayer warriors there. I remember one time. Now this was an exorcism that I was assisting another priest on. He got ill and had to go into the garage. I took over as best I could, and there was a time during the exorcism where I leaned too close, and the person that was in a wheelchair at the time got her hand loose. We just had her hands strapped down because she had a form of muscular dystrophy where she couldn't really get around.
Right.
But she was able to get one hand loose, and she struck me rather hard in the face. It felt like a large, muscular man that was a professional boxer
Wow.
had punched me in my face. I, for a split second, I mean, a split second, got very angry. And as soon as I got angry at that, not at her, but at the unclean spirit for striking out at me, all of a sudden, every single door, window, kitchen cabinet, everything in the house started opening and slamming all at the same time. The noise was so deafening that somebody standing right next to me couldn't hear what I was saying to them. The priest heard this going in the garage, heard this going on, and came in, grabbed me, took me into the garage, and asked me what had happened. Once I told him, he said, "We're done," because now he's taken your anger and harnessed that in order to get the energy to now turn everything upside down in there and be able to do all these extreme parlor tricks. And tonight we're done. We can come back and fight another day, but I'm ill, and you're compromised now because of that one moment where you felt anger. So you've got to be very careful, and there's a lot, it starts with a prayer, there's praying all through it, and it ends with prayer. And then people go through a post-demonic stress disorder, if you will. These people that have just gone through this, they will always love me, and we can continue after the break, but they never want to see me again. And you can't blame them, because seeing me is a reminder of what happened. So
either that or should be a reminder of how you saved them.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
They love me and pray for me, but I send instructions with them when I leave, because you don't want to make the same mistakes again that caused you to get in that situation. And that's important too.
All right, stand by, my good friend. Wow. Father Shawn Whittington's our special guest this hour. Ghost-B-Gone.biz, and we'll be back as we wrap up with this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Voices sing of love and hope and cheer. From the northern lights to city streets, the message rings so past midnight on Gate Street, the signal hums low. Static's alive and the shadows glow through the glass of the control room door. Something whispers, we've been here before. Old footsteps echo the real sighs. The red on air light flickers and dies through the hallway. A chill creeps deep. CKTB never sleeps. Ghosts on Gate Street, calling my name. Riding the airwaves, lost in the flame. From the grave to the mic, they rise again, telling the stories through static and rain. Phantoms whisper where the signal bleeds.
Well, Shawn Whittington's our guest. Shawn, my question after listening to you describe how you do your exorcism, it must be a physical and mental strain on you and those who are participants. A lot of praying, and you prepare by going to mass, confession, you crawl in, you wash the feet of those in attendance, and basically you renew their baptismal rites. But what happens if the person isn't a Catholic?
That's such a hard. One thing I've learned over many years is when to say when and when to cut somebody loose. And that's probably the hardest thing to have to deal with. These people, their lives have been turned upside down.
Right.
And they're experiencing, what they're experiencing, something they can't explain, and they know that they need help. But I have people that they don't want to do anything I ask them to do that's going to help them, and I don't blame them. I've always found it amazing, and that's also the demonic at work. These people are brainwashed, demonically brainwashed, and they just want me to come in, like I said earlier, and wave a magic wand and make it all better. But they're not going to do anything that you ask them to do on a spiritual level. They're not going to go get baptized. I may talk some of them into going to a non-denominational Christian-based church to get fully submerged in the holy waters, but they're not going to go to a Catholic church and get baptized and start going to Mass and receiving communion. Why? That amazes me that a person going through that type of horror would not be willing to do that.
Is it too late by the time they get possessed in order to go through the courses and the rituals to become a baptized Catholic in order to receive the Holy Communion and so on and so forth?
The unclean spirit needs to be exorcised first before the person can start doing that. Go to catechism and become
Right.
baptized. And then
So let's say the person is Protestant, okay, or Anglican. Can you still perform the exorcism on them?
When in Rome, sometimes you have to be Johnny on the spot, and
Yeah.
you do what you got to do. Sometimes the battle chooses you. You don't choose the battle, and then you got to do what you got to do. But I've also learned that I've referred many cases out to other teams and other clergy that are better suited for that person. Unfortunately, my wife being a Stephen minister in the Lutheran Church, I can, she can talk to the Lutherans. I can talk to the Christians and the Catholics. I've even performed an exorcism or two on a Jewish person. One exorcism, I actually assisted a Jewish exorcist in this, because when she first reached out to me, she said, "Oh, I didn't know you were Catholic. You can't help me." I said, "Absolutely, I can help you, and I will." And it meant a lot to her that I reached out. It took some hunting, but I hunted down and found a Jewish exorcist.
But if there's only one God, why would it matter what denomination you are if you, as a member of the clergy, are doing an exorcist to protect and to save one of his children?
Well, it comes back to the power of faith and the power of prayer. These people need to believe in what's going on. So this woman was much more ready to totally buy in with this rabbi than she was with me. And that goes a long way, especially during an exorcism. These people, it's all part of these people being the ones that have the true power to fight back.
So is part of being possessed mind over matter?
There is a lot of mind over matter. You have to be ready to fight. You have to be ready to dig really deep, pull some scabs off of some old wounds, realize what it was that caused you to be in this situation, and whoever's there that's trying to help you, you need to help them and fight back. You need to fight also. You can't just leave it in the hands of a priest or a rabbi or a deliverance minister. You have to be prepared to fight too. And everybody in that family, that's one of Satan's biggest goals, is to demolish the family. Very few exorcisms that I've attended or been a part of or took authority over, there was wasn't a family involved. There's always a family involved, and he wants to destroy that. So you need to get everybody in that family on board, or they can't be present, because Satan's in the mind. He's living rent free in the mind of every single person that's in that room, part of this thing. That's why you've got to be careful what you listen to, what you respond to, and you just got to stay focused and stay in prayer. But these people have to learn how to fight back.
I understand that. But is it not the demon that is in control during the exorcism, and not the person who is the host of the demon? And if it's the demon who's in control, how can the host of the demon be expected to fight back?
Well, they have given, at one point, somewhere along this roller coaster ride of, they've done something to start with that drew the attention of this entity. And then somewhere along the line, during the infestation stage and then the oppression stage, they've done something to actually give permission to this thing to attach. And then once the permission was given, then it just escalated until sometimes I go into these cases and that's as far as it's gone. It hasn't gone to a full-blown possession yet. But once the possession has taken place, God's always in control. It's always God that's in control. But the people, when the unclean spirit manifests, it's in control to a certain degree, but the person is still in control of their soul. They just have this invading unclean spirit that has entered their shell and is manifesting through and is suppressing the person behind. But the demon doesn't have control of that person's soul. That person's essence is still there. So before any of this even begins, hopefully they're in the right frame of mind that they're ready to help you fight back.
But if God is in control, why doesn't God exorcise the demon?
I believe, now this is my humble opinion, and I don't have all the answers. You and I are going to be having this discussion one day in heaven, and we'll have a nice laugh and a pint over all the things we're going to know then that we don't know now.
Right.
I believe in many circumstances, and I get asked this question a lot, why would God allow that person to be possessed? They're a God-fearing, church-going person who hasn't done anything wrong. And I believe sometimes the reason why God allows this to take place is because there's somebody close to that person that needs to see that true evil does exist, and then needs to see that God exists and the power of divine intervention. And sometimes that can be the person that is under possession, but many times it's somebody close to them that needs to see that. God always intends, I believe, that person is going to ultimately be saved, but there's going to be a process that we all have to go through to get to that point. And somebody in that person's immediate bubble close to them is in a position that they need to witness that. They need to see that true evil does exist, that God does exist, and that there is such a thing as divine intervention, and they need to see that. Then again, possessions that take place when people have just, a lot of my clients that come to me now are actually paranormal investigators without any training. They've gone to the wrong place, and they've been there at the wrong time, and they've said and done the wrong thing, and they have caused an attachment to come upon them. And then they didn't realize the warning signs, and they've allowed that to fester and grow, and it gets pretty ugly pretty quick.
Why would you, a man of the cloth, call somebody who comes to you for help a client? That kind of just doesn't sound right.
I never really thought about it, to be honest with you, why I would call them a client. Probably old habits from many, many years of just being a paranormal investigator, helping people that come to me for help, calling them I have this client now or that client.
Okay.
Probably old habit.
Just thought I'd ask because it just kind of sounded wrong coming from a man of the cloth.
Well, I get a lot of people that say, why is your website a .biz?
Yeah.
Is it a business? Well, I have things on there for sale, like my books.
Yeah.
You
were telling me
you got to.
You were telling me you've got a new book coming out.
I do.
We've got about a minute left. That's why I figured we should.
If you go to my website, you'll see my first two books.
Right.
My first book, God Goes in the Paranormal Ministry, God Goes in the Paranormal Ministry 2. The new book is Help Me, I'm Haunted. I co-wrote it with my publisher, who's a lifelong paranormal experiencer and a paranormal enthusiast, as you are, Rob. And there's also a lot of leading figures in the paranormal field that contributed articles to this. And how that book came along was people reaching out to me with all the same questions over and over and over again that are experiencing stuff. I need help with this. How do I get help? So we address all of the most popular and some not so popular scary things that people are going through and how they can get help. And if you buy it off of Amazon, it's a little less expensive. But off the website, I autograph it, and it arrives to you in a beautiful house blessing kit. You never know when of those are going to come in handy. So that's Help Me, I'm Haunted.
Father Shawn Whittington, as always, Shawn, time goes by so fast when you're with us. Again, thank you for the great work that you do and for the people that you've helped over the years. And I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone. But if I don't speak to you until before Christmas, I want to wish you and your family and all your friends a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy, demonic-free New Year.
God bless you, brother. I love you. God bless everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to all the people in America. God bless you, Rob. I love you, brother. I'm going to get you on my show as soon as I can.
All right. God bless you, buddy. Exonation. Father Shawn Whittington has been our guest this hour. Well, that's it for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night. Same time, same channel. So until then, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.